back to the channel, my fellow subscribers and non-subscribers. Today I want to talk to you about my favorite piece of content ever, and that is Berserk. Written and drawn by Kentaro Miura. It's hard for me to pronounce that, it's a Japanese name, don't kill me if I got it wrong. In this video, I'm hoping to bring you guys to the dark side and hopefully persuade you into giving Berserk a shot. Because frankly, I think Berserk deserves a lot more praise than it actually gets, and I know you guys deserve an awesome piece of content to read or watch, so it's a win-win for both of us. So what I'm going to do for you guys today is I'm going to go ahead and give you some reasons on why you should go ahead and check out Berserk, as well as give you some mediums to allow you to experience Berserk in your own way. If you're a reader, I have something for you. If you're a movie watcher, I have something for you. And let's just say if you're a big show watcher, you want to have like a long-running series, I have an option for you with that too. So there's a little thing for everybody. But yeah, I'll go ahead and explain the best option for you as well. Alright guys, so now that the intro is out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes. And that is,
why is Berserk amazing?
So let's go ahead and talk about the world of Berserk.
In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own will.
The world of Berserk was inspired by the European medieval fantasy genre, and you've seen this all before. This genre has been pretty much beaten to death at this point, and I'm sure I don't really need to explain why. We've had countless video games, movies, and shows based on the fantasy medieval style genre. So why is Berserk's world building and atmosphere so unique and different compared to things like Lord of the Rings? Let me go ahead and just say, Berserk is if a medieval style fantasy was written and directed by Clive Barker.
Pain. How dare you use that word? What you think of as pain is only a shadow. Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you. Gentlemen, I am pain.
The world of Berserk isn't for the faint of heart. The world is cold, massive, filled with evil and hopelessness. And you are being forewarned right now, if you can't handle rape, murder, genocide, disease, starvation, torture, child death, cannibalism, and all that creepy, horrible, just fucking nasty shit, you won't be able to handle Berserk's world. It's just filled with just the most reprehensible, crazy shit ever. Let's just say Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones would be begging to go back to Ramsay Bolton if he had a glimpse of the reunion in the Abyss, which is a chapter in Berserk we'll not go into right now. It's kind of a spoiler, but, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little bit of foreshadowing before maybe you jump into this series. What's cool about Berserk, too, is that obviously there's absolute atrocities going on in the world, and it's dark, it's grim, it's ugly, you know, nobody wants to live in this world. But there's also kind of a beauty to it all. There's almost like this melancholy beauty that kind of overtakes everything, kind of like the Fallout series, where you can tell that everything's messed up, but it's like messed up in kind of this weird, dark, dreary, beautiful sort of way. Miura Kantaro does an excellent job at making the world horrifically beautiful, using really bold black streaks that illuminate the world, and it gives off this certain lonely feeling to it all, and especially because he doesn't use colors and it's only black and white, it also furthers that lonely sort of feeling to his artwork. And to be honest with you, some of these pieces of art should be hanging in a museum somewhere. I mean, they're that good. I mean, they're nothing short of masterpieces. And I really recommend you guys, if you guys decide to get into the world of Berserk, you should go ahead and read the manga. Now that we've explained the world of Berserk, let's go ahead and talk about our hero, our knight in shining armor, our... Oh, he's not a knight in shining armor, he's the black swordsman, or the struggler, or the cursed one, or the one-handed swordsman, or there's a lot of different aliases he goes by, and none of them sound very good guy-like, let's just say. In my humbled opinion, I think Guts from Berserk is the best protagonist ever written. And I know, hear me out, that is a very bold statement, but just hear me out for a second. Guts isn't just a 6'8", 300-pound hulking behemoth of a Chad that can bench press your max with his schlong. And look at that jawline, it is like a fucking sledgehammer. Other than the obvious ridiculous attributes of Guts and his, his physique, Guts is actually one of the most relatable characters ever written. On this epic journey, you really get to see Guts mature as a character from being an innocent kid into becoming a cocky, arrogant teenager into becoming a brooding adult that is just looking for meaning in life. So, you really get to experience Guts and a wide range of character development with him, and you get to really see him grow up as a human being. Also, Guts has experienced basically every human emotion and tragedy you can think of. In fact, each chapter in Berserk should be called, How is Guts Gonna Be Fucked Over This Time? Because the entire series is about him getting screwed over in some sort of way or fashion. He's experienced child abuse, neglect, rape, death of family members and friends, addiction, depression, suicidal thoughts, betrayal, hate, regret, and everything in between. And I know that all sounds very horrible and depressing, but it's subtly the opposite. Actually, in fact, I'd recommend Berserk to someone who is suffering from depression and is having troubles in their personal life. Because no matter who you are, Guts has been through it all and more. Even with all of Guts' baggage, he still continues to stride forwards and do everything possible to be a good person. Even though he doesn't like to admit that, but he is always striving to become a better person for himself and others around him. Guts is sort of that character in denial where he believes he's actually a bad guy, and he continues to portray himself as such, but in the story he actually becomes the champion of the weak and powerless. He funnels his inner demons and depression into unadulterated rage, and he uses that rage to absolutely destroy the enemies that wronged him and the others that he's protecting. Destroy might be too weak of a word for it. The best way I can put it is he becomes a monster to fight other monsters. So he's kind of like Doom Guy, but with a big fucking sword. Speaking of the monsters, let's go ahead and segue into the villains of Berserk. I don't want to spoil too much of Berserk for you, so let me just go ahead and try to generally give a general statement on the villains. The villains are so fucking evil and so utterly reprehensible that you will love to see their pain. And that's the best way I can put it. I mean, some of these guys are so over the top and so brutal and so evil. It's hard to explain. There's like not a strong enough word for it. They're beyond that. They're so bad that you just want to see them. You just want to see them die from the hands of Guts. Like it's bad. Let me go ahead and give you some examples of how bad these villains are. Holy fuck! Is that monster eating a child? What the heck? Are those monsters impregnating women? And then are the babies bursting out of them like the movie Aliens in this? Oh my, what the fuck? Adult attack. Hey, you'll understand once you read it. I can't show a lot of this on YouTube because it's so horrid and YouTube won't allow me to show this stuff. Is that a possessed horse with a boner? So yes, when Guts goes into full rage because of shit like this, the only option is Clang. I mean, the villains just totally deserve the manner in which they're killed in. It is just... It's so beautiful in a brutal sort of way, and it's totally deserved, is what I'm saying. And you love to see the bad guys get what's coming to them in Berserk. That's the best part, in my opinion. Before I get into the best ways to kind of get you into Berserk, because I'm going to go ahead and explain that now, let me go ahead and first explain some little interesting tidbits about Berserk that you might not actually know about. So Berserk is still an ongoing series. It's not over. There's still stuff to be written, and the story hasn't ended yet. So it is kind of like Hunter x Hunter or Game of Thrones, the written series, not the show. Or like Vagabond, which is another good, it's another good manga that you should probably get into, but that'll be for another video. So if you don't like waiting around for a chapter, like for like months and months and months, you probably won't really want to get into Berserk. Now, let me go ahead and preface that by saying there is lots of content in Berserk already, so there is tons to chew on, and you won't be disappointed in the content that we already have. But if you want to see the ending story, you're gonna have to start waiting like the rest of us, and it is kind of torturous. And the chapters come out like one chapter every like 3 or 4 months. So it is and by the way, chapters aren't very long, so it does take a long time for the writer to get on board and start writing this shit. But when you get the new chapter, you're definitely not disappointed, because the writing, the dialogue, the artwork is just so prestigious and so clean that you really can't be mad at it, I guess you'd say. And to be honest with you, if you like works of art and you like quality, you want the time to be given to him to write something good. You don't want to just let him, dick off and just write some crappy scrub shit and horrible artwork and all that stuff. Let him do his job. He'll eventually finish it. It's just going to take a while. The other thing is, too, is Berserk is actually not a very popular series. So if you've read it, you're kind of in this niche group, almost like it's a cult classic. That's what I'm trying to say. Berserk is a cult classic. So the thing is that because it's such a cult following, the people within this little group that read Berserk really, really love Berserk, kind of like myself. And there's actually references to Berserk in pop culture that you don't actually know about. So, for example, if you've ever played any FromSoft game, like the Dark Souls, Sekiro, or Bloodborne, you have seen some Berserk references. You just have. And you probably don't know about that unless you are a Berserk fan. Has any of you guys seen that small Marvel movie? Now, not many people know about it. It's called Infinity War. Anybody guys heard about it? Well, anyways, let me just talk about it real quick. So, Infinity War, where Thanos throws his daughter off the cliff for the Soul Stone. And then he wakes up in the water holding the stone in his hand next to this big eclipse in the background in placid water. And you're probably thinking like, wow, that was such a visual, spectacle, and it was so weird and jarring and kind of just abnormal and just fucking strange. Whoever came up with that was a real genius. Well, let me go ahead and just bring a little light to that. That is actually a reference to Berserk. And it's so funny because many people don't know this, and many people thought, man, that was such a weird, interesting scene. It must have been written by one of those Marvel writers or whatever, those genius Marvel writers. No, it was copied and pasted from Berserk. And Berserk was written back in the 90s. So it was ripped straight from Berserk and placed, boom, right on the big screen. And most of the population didn't even know that existed. They didn't know that happened. They had no clue. But if you're a Berserk fan, you're like, holy shit. I remember watching that in the movie theaters being like, that's from fucking Berserk. He straight up ripped off Berserk. And people don't know. If you remember that scene in Infinity Wars, and you thought, wow, that was such a really interesting and bizarre scene, well, let me go ahead and tell you, Berserk is like that the entire damn show, the entire damn, I guess you could say show, movie, or manga. So if you like that type of strange, weird feeling, well, Berserk is right for you. So you're probably wondering, how do I get into Berserk? What is the best way for me? And let me go ahead and explain that to you. Personally, for me, I got into Berserk watching the 90s cartoons, and the cartoons, it's a show. There's multiple episodes. It is probably the most faithful adaptation of the manga. So if you want the most faithful adaptation and you like watching shows with multiple episodes, the 90s cartoon version is probably the best way for you to get into the show. The only thing I can really say about the show is that it's a little dated. It was back in the 90s when they made this cartoon, so the animations aren't as crisp as the new animations of anime, like in One Piece, or the big ones, Naruto or My Hero Academia. It's not gonna look that pretty. I'm just saying. But if you want good story and you want that good, clean atmosphere from the manga, you want to go ahead and watch the 90s cartoon version. Now, if you want something that is not as faithful to the manga, and it is, but it's a little more crisp, a little more nice for the eyes, it gives you that little bit of eye candy that you're really desperately wanting, well, there is the movies on Netflix. So you can go to Netflix, just type in Berserk, and they'll have 3 movies that goes through the Golden Age arc. It doesn't go through the whole manga. The manga is way longer than any movie or show that is out right now, but both the show from the 90s and the new movies go through the Golden Age arc, and if you don't like the Golden Age arc, then you're probably not going to like the rest of Berserk. So it's always a good way to get into it by just watching 3 separate movies. They're about an hour and a half each. They're not so long, and if you put them together, you get a good decent runtime. So if you get into that and you say, wow, I really like the Golden Age arc from the movies on Netflix, you can go ahead and just jump straight into the manga right from the eclipse scene. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, You will once you watch it. You'll know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. But I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll just leave it at that. Now, the best way to consume Berserk is to read the manga, because it is the most faithful, because it's the original. It's the source material. It's the source material of everything else. So if you want to really consume Berserk, you're gonna eventually have to start reading the manga, because first, there's just way more content in it than the movie or the show. And if you do decide to read Berserk, you should go ahead and actually start on chapter 3, page 172. And the reason is that the beginning, I guess you say before that, there's a lot of, let's just say, spoilers for things to come, and it's actually better to start right when Guts is born, just so that you're kind of walking in blind. Because I don't know what, like, the reasoning is behind it, but they kind of spoil a bunch of things that happen later, and you don't need that. I think it's just better to start when he's born, because it's just a clean slate, you don't know what's going on, and the story proceeds from there. The other thing is that Guts is a little out of character before that, so you'll see him when he's a little older. They kind of skip, like, they time jump, kind of like Tarantino. But, like, they show him when he's older, and he's a little out of character, and you don't really understand why. And if you think that's what Guts is normally like in the Black Swordsman arc or whatever, you're gonna be like, is he just like an asshole? Like, he's just an asshole in that arc. And he's kind of an asshole normally, but there's like a loving side to him. Now, in this part that I'm speaking of, he's kind of like an edgelord, and there's a reason for that, but because they don't explain it, it kind of gives you like a bad perception of Guts from the start, and I don't think you really need that, because he actually grows on you from the get-go way differently than they show him in that arc. He's just kind of out of character. So that's just my opinion on it. You can start from the very, very beginning and read on through, but I think you should start on chapter 3 and chapter 3, page 172. That's my way of doing it. That's what I always do whenever I read Berserk. So if you like this content, you guys, and you think this is a good breakdown on how to read Berserk or how to get into the world of Berserk, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel, because I'll be producing more Berserk content here soon. I think I'm going to start reviewing each chapter, because I love the show, and I love the manga, I love the movies so much that I'd like to talk about them more. You know, it's something that I'm really interested in, and it's something that I'm passionate about, so I might as well talk about it when I have the chance. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see ya. Hey, you made it to the end. That means you must enjoy my content, so go ahead and tap that subscribe button for me. And if you don't like my content, subscribe anyways. My videos are proven to make your schlong longer. Follow me on Parler if you want additional content updates, or if you want to interact with me personally. And join my BitChute channel for additional content. Thanks, you guys. See ya.